Hello, welcome. If you've ever considered stopping what you're doing to start something else, or you're curious whether or not you're going down the right path, or as they often say, climbing up the right ladder. Obviously, the last thing we want to do is climb up a ladder our entire lives, only to look down and realize that we climbed the wrong ladder. And you always have an opportunity to change, right? I think we all know this. But if you're in that mindset of either because of outside circumstances or because of internal feelings, that idea of, well, am I even doing the thing I should be doing? And what if I did this instead? Well, this is the conversation that we're going to have today. There's a lot to unpack here. Obviously, this is a lot of psychology. This is a lot of potentially trial and error and a lot of reflection that needs to happen. And I know there's some of you who are watching this right now who really need to hear this conversation. So I appreciate you being here with me today. Thank you. My name is Pat Flynn, here to help you make more money, save more time, and help more people too. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so we can help you further and so you never miss any of these shows, because this is day 260. That is just incredible. 260 days of the show in a row. Let's kick it off. Thanks again for being here.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
You know, I know a lot of you with 2021 just around the corner, literally less than a month away. And even if you're watching this in the future, obviously there's likely something that's going to happen, like a new milestone, or perhaps you're coming up to a cycle where you are forced to or considering making a life decision like this. These are the things we have to think about, and it's not always easy. I just want to say that up front. These are things that, however, everybody goes through. And the first thing I want to say is that oftentimes we feel very alone when we're making these decisions. Why me, right? And I remember back in 2008 when I was laid off from my architecture job, the job that I wanted my entire life. It was my dream job. I was building restaurants and casinos in Vegas, and I was designing them. This was exactly what I wanted to do. But on June 17th, 2008, I got let go. And I was forced to for my future decision. And I was even getting external pressure from outside members of my life and my family to perhaps go down one route. And then I was pressured and getting encouraged by others to go down this route. So how do we manage these sorts of decisions? And it got to a point where I was just literally just sitting and just kind of curious. And I remember, how old was I? 25 years old, just gotten laid off, newly engaged, sitting in my bed, just going, what am I going to do with my life? And it weighed heavy on me. It weighed heavy that whatever I chose was going to be almost like in Back to the Future, right? Where it's like one little decision can take your life this way and another decision can take your life this way, right? And so, number one, you're not alone. It feels very lonely, but there are other people, especially now, going through this with you. So that's sort of lesson number one. And when you can connect to other people who are going through this with you, you at least know, A, that you can do and get through these things together, which is why I'm very thankful that we're all here today and that we're talking about this. And even if you're watching the replay, if you happen to be watching the replay, hashtag Team Replay in the comment section right now if you can. If you happen to be here live, thank you again for joining me. Hook me up with a thumbs up if you can. I appreciate you for that. And it helps more people find this. And I think this topic in particular is one that many people need to listen to. In fact, a lot of the chat and the conversations that were happening before I went live today were talking about how much this is needed to at least be thought about, right? But number one, you are not alone. Number two, not all decisions are permanent. Now, I know it feels like it is, right? This is the thing that really helped me because I was really pulling toward wanting to get into entrepreneurship. But outside forces and just the way I was conditioned was pulling me back to go back to architecture, to go back to school, to do what I was dedicated my life to do, right? I spent 5 years learning architecture. Parents paid my way through college to learn architecture. I'd be letting them down, right, if I went this new direction. But I was also being pulled because I had done everything right and still got let go. And here I was at a pivot point, right? So should I continue to do architecture or should I pivot and try something else? And it eventually hit me that in this particular case, and this is the case for many sort of scenarios like this, that if I were to try the entrepreneurial route, that doesn't mean I could never go back to architecture, right? It didn't cross my mind that that was the case until months later. I don't know why. I just felt like we always have this sort of like extreme answer here or extreme answer here, but we don't necessarily think about all the other options or the middles. We're very binary in our decision making often. We're very yes or no. We're very black and white, salt and pepper, yin and yang, right? But it's not always like that. There's in fact a book by a duo, brothers, Chip and Dan Heath, called Decisive. And that's primarily the big thesis of that book, is that not all decisions are in fact just A or B. There's a 8.5, an 8.75 or whatever in between, right? So when I realized that, that was a huge revelation for me. It meant that if I were to go into entrepreneurship and yet fail, it didn't mean I lost everything. It just meant, okay, this is on pause for now and I have it in my back pocket in case I need it. Yes, perhaps I might not have gained the knowledge I would have gotten if I went to get my master's degree in architecture. Yes, it meant that, okay, perhaps for a year or two, I wouldn't have, done what I needed to do to learn and grow here in the architecture space. I would have sort of lost those years. But what I would have gained potentially in going into a new space was worth so much more. And especially with how I was feeling about the whole thing, and yet having done everything perfect, still getting let go, I eventually was like, you know what? I need to take control. I need to go down this route and I need to just see what would happen. And the truth was, and this is the big thing that I learned, was that whatever decision you make, you either get the results you want or the lessons you needed. When you have that sort of mindset and approach, that means that no matter what decision you make, it's going to be okay, right? And that was such a huge relief. The only thing that is really bad is when you make a decision and you fail and you give up and you don't learn from that, and you consider that a waste of time. But you can always learn from any decision that you make. You either get the result that you wanted or the lessons that you needed. And I think also this approach of trying something new consciously was very important. What I mean by that is that purposefully going down a new route and being conscious about my efforts there, being considerate and not making the decision like, okay, I am now forever an entrepreneur versus I thought I was forever going to be an architect, but taking it week by week, month by month, after a year, considering, okay, where am I at now? Is this the direction I still want to keep going? Or should I go back and do what I was doing earlier, right? So hopefully this is making sense. Every decision you make, you either get the results you want or the lessons you needed. That is a quote that I heard from somebody else. So I don't want to take credit for that, but I know it's always hard to credit those who had said those things before. So you can hear it from me, but I didn't create that. I want to credit James Wedmore for that particular quote. Now, there's some other scenarios here, right? Let's say you are working 9 to 5 and you perhaps have this side business that you only have so much time for. Let me know in the chat if this is sort of, we all have different scenarios, obviously, but this is a very common one that I've come across, at least for the people that seem to be attracted to the kind of stuff that I talk about and teach. This idea that you are working and you're working 9 to 5 and you're grinding, you're hustling, you're supporting the family, you've got your kids to feed, etc. But you also have this side gig. And you know internally, there's just a little feeling that if you only had more time to do that, you could grow it and have that become your full-time thing. But you also have this family to support and you have this security in there, right? Number one, 9 to 5 jobs often have a false sense of security, right? I think that it is secure in a way that if you get that job, it's sort of expected that you get this check every 2 weeks. And I thought that I had a secure job. I was doing everything I could, yet I still got let go. I think that we have to kind of fast forward and we have to take that DeLorean into the future and consider what might happen if we make certain decisions. And for those of you who have been here on the income stream before, you've heard me talk about this strategy and this thought experiment. And this is one of my favorite things to think about. Whenever I have a decision to make, little or big, right? Little like, okay, which Pokemon card am I going to invest in this week, right? And what happens a year from now, 5 years from now? If I were to keep it, would I be okay? Would I sell it? Anyway, that's just a little micro example. But major life decisions, I think about that as well. So here's that decision-making thought experiment. And this often happens when this conversation that we're having right now often comes up when we're talking about business ideas, right? Which business? I have 5 business ideas. Which one should I do? And that's a hard decision too, because it's like, okay, well, I could go this way, this way, this way, this way, or this way. But I know that if I go further this way, I'm leaving these other ones behind right now. And that's not necessarily true. But I would rather you take a time machine to fast forward and determine what things are going to be like first. Now, obviously, there is no such thing as a real time machine. But there is truth to the matter that the decisions you make now are writing your story for the future. Very Back to the Future-esque, right? Robert Zemeckis and that movie. But here's a thought experiment. Let's say you have a decision to make. Should you go down this route? Should you go down this route? Whatever the thing is, I don't care. You get into the DeLorean and you make a decision. You go and you make decision number 1. And in your head, you time travel 1 year into the future. And you consider the thing works out the way you wanted it to. Okay, we're talking about the way that we hope it works out. We see a vision of ourselves a year from now, and the thing that we chose to do is working. What are you seeing yourself do? What is your daily life like? How is the world? How are you sort of outside of your body from the past looking into the future? How are you seeing yourself? Is it the way that you want to be? Is it what you're doing? Are you doing what you want to do? Can you visualize that? Many times when I run this experiment and people see the thing working out, the decision working out, they go, wow, that's actually not a life that I want to live. And even though things might work out, it's not they've gone down a route that they didn't want to, because success to them was maybe money on the surface. But when it came down to what they were doing and what daily life was like and what their family dynamic was like, that decision, even if it worked, was not going to give them the life that they wanted. So great. We can now travel back to now and make decision number 2. And now we do the same experiment. Okay, let's travel 1 year into the future. Let's consider, okay, everything is working out the way it's supposed to. If I were to make this decision and it worked out the way I wanted it to, let's fast forward into the future. Let's take a look at ourselves and see what life is like, what's daily life like, family dynamic, everything that's important to you. Consider those factors and determine whether or not that's the direction that you'd be more excited about. You can compare how excited you get about those 2 perfect scenarios. And again, of course, it's not going to work out that way exactly. And it's not always perfect. It's always a bumpy road. It might be up and down, dips, big inclines, big declines, etc. But at least you know now, okay, the decisions you're making, you can weigh them against each other. I also want you to do the same experiment with the worst case scenario. So I'm going to make decision number 1. And okay, things did not work out the way they were supposed to. In fact, everything went bad. So let's fast forward a year from now and let's see ourselves in that scenario. What is actually, this is where we have to sort of be real sometimes, because sometimes, and I know we've all gone through this, when things are tough, we start thinking the worst case scenario. I mean, I've gone through this exercise many times, and this internal battle, these demons in our heads, right? When I started speaking on stage, I had imagined that I would forget all my words, that I would stumble and fall and trip. I'd have a bloody nose, and people would throw, tangerines and water balloons and rotten apples at me. I don't even know where they'd get these things from, right? I imagined that if I started my business as an entrepreneur versus going into architecture, that I would end up homeless, living like in Skid Row in LA. Like literally, that's what I thought. We tend to really tell ourselves this story that, okay, when things get bad, it's going to be the ultimate worst thing. But then when you start to think about it in reality, it's like, okay, if I went down this entrepreneurship route, okay, well, yeah, maybe it didn't work out. Well, I would continue to at least live at my parents' house, which is where I was living, and they would support me until I was able to get back on my feet. My 5 years of architecture, hey, that's not going to go to waste. It's just on pause, but I can go back and get another job, and I can work my way back up. And I knew that taking a chance with entrepreneurship for a couple years would at least give me the understanding of whether or not that's something I could do and wanted to do. And I think it really helped that I didn't have a choice but to make it work, right? I did things because it was a decision I made to go down that route. I did things that I wouldn't normally have done. And I think that was key. That's what taught me that a lot of this great stuff that can happen was outside of my comfort zone. It was more comfortable to just stay in architecture, and I was getting complacent. I was getting conditioned to believe like, okay, well, this is, I made, I didn't even make that choice, right? When you really think about it, it's like, well, that's the choice that society, my parents, and just school told me to go down. And here I was now getting laid off, the worst time in my life, now being open to, and my eyes open to these new opportunities that I didn't even know existed in the past too. Remote Hive, what's up, Remote Hive? Sorry, I just went right into it, you guys. For those of you who are here live, I apologize. I've just been really riffing and remembering and trying to get and tap into those feelings that I had when I had some big pivot moments in my past. But oftentimes, again, when we think about the worst case scenario, which is often what we do, when we step back and really think about it, it's not ever usually that bad, right? So when we weigh these two decisions together, whether we should pivot or not, it's not always going to be the biggest loss that we might think, right? So in this next portion, I want to talk about that idea of you starting a brand, starting a business, and another kind of pivot, which I know is very common here. Let me know in the chat if this is where maybe your head is at related to this topic today and why you're watching this video. But perhaps you're building a brand, you're creating an entrepreneurial base audience, and or excuse me, you're creating an audience and you're an entrepreneur, you're going down this route, and then you realize maybe that's not the direction you want to go. You want to start a business maybe here instead and do something completely different. There's a lot of nuances related to that specifically, right? So business pivot. Do I focus on providing information and value here, or do I provide value here? This is a very, very common thing. So let's talk together a little bit more. We'll wait for some answers to come in, and we're just kind of, let me welcome y'all here because I just kind of went right into it. I apologize. The Nordic Hunter, what's up, Nordic Hunter? Gabriella, Sarah, Bill in the house as well, writing with his gel pens today. The Remote Hive, hey, my first time getting here live. Appreciate you being here. We got Mai, Thrifty Pickers, Grandma Goody, Bernard, Shonda. Fantastic. Riff away, you do you, and we're here to listen. Thanks, Stephanie. Appreciate you for that. Chris is in the house again. Chris, it's always great to see you here. I always miss you when you're gone. Michael, Manos in the house. Cherry, Channel TV. Hi, Flynn. Hi, Cherry. Fantastic. I love it. I love you guys. This episode today is vital for many of us here. Yeah, and even if you're not going through any major decisions right now, you will. You will. This is just a part of life. But it's always these parts of life that make us stronger, right? Even if we feel like we're getting broken down, as I said the other day, how are muscles built, right? You break them down, and then you can get stronger as long as you're eating your protein, right? So anyway, let's keep talking about this. Fit Over 50 recently niched down perfection. Still keeping my day job just in case, but ramping up a lot. Just completing all website stuff this morning. Nice. Hey, Marty. Good to see you here. Hey, Mai. Sharon in the house. Contempo Coding. Love it. Love you guys. Okay, so let's talk more about if you have a business that you're running, whether it's on the side or full time, but you're just not quite sure that this is where you want to go down. Well, this is where I want you to start thinking about, well, why did you get into this particular space that you're in now in the first place, right? Sometimes we start feeling these feelings of wanting to change things just because this is normal in the entrepreneurial journey to either A, get bored of something, B, start to struggle with something, or C, see another opportunity elsewhere and start forgetting about why we're even on this first path to begin with. And when we can rekindle why we're doing what we're doing, we can often make smarter decisions, right? Sometimes we make these decisions to try something new only because we're scared of moving forward in the other thing that we already said yes to. And the truth of the matter is when you say yes to something, you're also saying no to something. And too often we are saying yes to things that then have us saying no to things that we once said yes to. And you can get into this vicious cycle of saying yes to something, then saying yes to something else, then saying no to that initial thing, then finding another new thing that you're saying yes to, and then saying no to that other thing that you once said yes to, but now you're saying no to. And it can just become this vicious cycle of you're never getting anywhere, right? But what if you've been doing business for a while and you have an audience and you're making, maybe a little bit of money or maybe not at all, and you see this opportunity and you feel like you could maybe do better in that case? Well, let's think about the why. And sometimes that alone can have you go, you know what? Even though that's great, I know my mission here is to stay here and I'm going to just grind through this dip. The Dip is a book by Seth Godin. It's about this process that all of us go through, all businesses, where you start strong and you have this dip. And it's oftentimes the dip where people leave because they want something else or they're bored or what have you. But it's those who persist through that dip who then see the exponential growth and that hockey stick growth on the other end, right? And it's too often that people quit right before that inflection point. How do you know? Well, you don't often know, but you need to be pressured in some way to do things to make it work. And this might be a hard-hitting lesson for some of you, but many of you may be going through the process and have just been sort of on this treadmill, right? Thank you, Bill, for the super chat, by the way. I appreciate you for that. Thank you to K-Walk as reminding me of the live today. Excellent. But you might just be on this constant treadmill, this work on your thing every day, and that's it. And it's just kind of the usual stuff. You're publishing blog posts, you're filming a video on this day, and then you're editing it on this day, and then you're publishing on this day. And it's just kind of this cycle, right? This content hamster wheel, and we're building our audiences. But the truth is, if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same thing. The one thing I've learned over the last, especially 4 years of doing business, I've been an entrepreneur for 12 years now, but over the last 4 years, it really started to hit me that the more I go outside of what I'm normally doing, the more likely I am to grow faster, the more likely I am to make a bigger impact, right? Yes, it's important to have some rhythm, some cadence, especially when it comes to consistently creating content. You want to have that sort of be automatic or systematic in some way, shape, or form. But it was 4 years ago that I started making big decisions, right? Big decisions in my business. So it's 4 years ago, 2016, that's when my book, Will It Fly, came out. And that's when my first course came out. That's when I started charging five figures for keynote speeches and creating really, really bold keynote speeches that were different, that then made an impact on stages that had me get called back and go to different conferences. That's when I started to inject more team into my business, stuff that I was very afraid of. But on one level, the system, the automation was cool. But on another level, I knew that if I was just going to continue to do the same thing, I was going to continue to get the same results. And it was only when I made those bigger, bolder decisions that, yes, were maybe a little bit more risky. But that's when I started to get bigger and bolder results. Yes, that means you might get bigger, bolder failures. But I feel like failures and lessons are proportional to each other, right? Or parallel. The bigger the failure, the bigger the lesson, right? So if you're taking little micro steps here and there, if you fail on a micro step, well, the lesson you're learning is not going to be that impactful either. But if you take bigger, bolder actions, if you take bigger, bolder steps, even if you were to fail, the lesson can be that much more valuable, right? Bill says, Pat Flynn, years ago, I was taught the extension of that. Insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. Your book rocks. Thank you. Yeah, I think it was Einstein who said that, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? So yeah. Just looking at the chat, making sure you're good. The why is a big EPS. I think I have a dip every day. I need to read the dip again. Yes. Also, negative actions call for negative results. So learn from your mistakes and make positive changes, indeed. Now, one thing I like to offer that may be a bit of a blessing to some is that if you are in one space and you're thinking about getting into another, the beauty of this is you don't have to give up the one thing to start the new thing. You will have to make some sacrifices, though, because we only have so much time in the day. You likely already have some responsibilities. And again, by saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. So we have to do a self-audit to see what within what we're doing, or what within our business at least, could we potentially let go or pause just for a moment so we can experiment and try this new thing, right? And I think it's really important to realize that you can have it all, but you can't do it all. There's a big difference there. You can have it all, but you can't do it all. That infers, obviously, maybe you have other people do those things, perhaps, which is true. But even if you're just solo and doing this yourself, you could have it all, but you can't do it all, which means you also have to be diligent with when you do certain things, right? It's when we try to do all these things at the same time where we start to get bogged down, we start to get negative energy, we start to get burned out potentially. And unfortunately, when we try to add too many things into our business plate, we're taking away from other plates, right? Our relationship plate, our health plate, if you will, right? Feel like you're directly talking to me today. I just got the ebook free on Hoopla app through the local library. Check it out. Lots of free audiobooks too. Thank you, Grandma Goody. That is amazing. Clementina says time is money. Indeed, it is. We had mentioned health just a second ago. That's really important too, obviously, and we've talked about this several times here. If you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of who you need to take care of and what else you need to take care of? So hopefully you're still, you're not sacrificing, a ton of sleep or sacrificing time, or you're like, oh, I need, health. Oh, I'm going to eat fast food now because then I can get some time back. Yeah, sure, maybe in the short term, but long term, if you keep doing that and building that habit, that's not going to be great. It's not. You're eventually going to get to that point where the benefits of that are going to cross the negatives, and you're going to start to feel it for sure. That's exactly where I'm at right now. Appreciate you covering this topic. Thank you, Chris. So if you have two things that you could go, if you're doing one thing and you have a consideration of doing another, you don't have to drop the one thing completely in order to do this other thing completely. You can do a lot of what I talk about in my book, Will It Fly? You can microtest, you can validate, you can start on the side having little conversations. And to me, before you start a business of any kind or start something new, the number one thing that you should do is have conversations with people who have done those things before or who are in that space, right? So when I wanted to learn how to do a triathlon, right? Big shout out and thank you to my trainer, Jeff. Appreciate you for that. Did that go through? There it is. High five to everybody, by the way. Okay, it is working, just making sure. So when I wanted to learn how to do a triathlon, I went straight to somebody who had done triathlons. And Jeff had agreed to train me in exchange for some business advice. And so I was able to barter that, which was pretty cool. And he helped me run my first triathlon. I completely ate it on the bike, by the way, because I don't know how to take my feet out of my bike. But other than that, everything was cool. And then I had to go run a 5K. It was just a mini sprint. It was pretty cool. It was a fun experience for sure. And I've continued to work with him over time. When I wanted to learn how to speak on stages, what did I do? I read books about it specifically, and I went to people who have done it before, and I asked them, how did you get on stages? Who did you talk to? Did you get coaching? And I got coaching. Mike Pacchione was my coach in 2012 to help me with speaking. And I've forever taken that information and have gone forward with it, and I credit him for my start on stages, right? So yeah, triathlon's very dangerous. Anyway, conversations. If you want to start something new and you're thinking of pivoting, stop thinking about it and start getting answers, right? Start getting answers. I think it's when we go day by day wondering, that's the worst, right? To me, if I'm wondering something, I think the best thing you can do is like try to find the answer to it, right? And do it in a safe and responsible way, and do it in a way where maybe you can micro-test and talk to people about it who have done it before and who have made these mistakes. Because that way I can get information, and information is what I can use, because I don't have that information. I'm thinking about something and I'm wondering if that path is the better path. Well, let's find out more about it before I then make the actual decision to go down that path. But if you're excited about something, or you're thinking that maybe you have to pivot into a new direction, well, let's see what that new direction is like first. Because the last thing you'd want to do is go down that new direction without any research, or because you're just guessing, or because you were just way hyped up on it and you just made a snap decision to go down that route, leaving everything else behind, all whilst losing out on this opportunity to continue to build the relationships you already have, realizing that this new thing was just a fad, and then you come back and you've lost that time, right? Again, Chip and Dan Heath, Decisive. If you're struggling with decisions right now on where you could potentially go, that is the recommended book that I would offer for you today. So that's Chip and Dan Heath, not Chris Chip, Chip and Dan Heath, Decisive. They also wrote one of my favorite all-time favorite books, Made to Stick. Made to Stick is a fantastic read as well. And the cover is orange with like duct tape on it. I went to the bookstore when I was learning entrepreneurship, and I saw that book, and I thought somebody had put duct tape on the book, but it was just like it looks like duct tape. It's not duct tape. There's so many marketers selling fads. You know, that's a great point, Bernard. You know, you got to find somebody you trust, obviously, and I would go to multiple sources when you're making decisions to try something, right? You don't want to just kind of find one person. You want to make sure and determine, you know, and of course, I did my research when I was running the triathlon. I wanted to find out who was there, and in this new niche that I'm potentially about to get into, that I'm setting up a video YouTube channel for, the research we talked about yesterday that I'm doing it for it, I've also already spoken to about a dozen people in that space, connecting with them on social media, getting on text with them, getting introduced to other people, getting uncomfortable. It is very uncomfortable for me. It's very not like me, if I'm just like chilling, to go and ask for an introduction to somebody. But because I'm determined to make this work and I want to be a great example for you as well, I had asked people who I've gotten connected with if they have any friends that I could talk to too about potentially what I could offer and get into in this space. So again, in 2021, you're going to start a new YouTube channel. I'm going to be hopefully here on this channel talking about my experience there and kind of some of the things behind the scenes that I'm doing to grow it. And that's going to be, I think, a lot of fun for sure. That's why I'm here too, bro. I don't know everything, and Pat Flynn has knowledge I do not, so I'm learning from him. Great content. Thanks, Thrifty Pickers, and Bernard and everybody. You know, I don't know everything either, and I think that's important when you find somebody who's honest about what they do know and don't know. And whenever you all have asked questions that I don't know the answer to, hopefully you can realize that I'm not just trying to fake it or anything. But there's multiple sources for different kinds of things, right? When I was learning how to podcast, I went directly to the podcaster experts out there. When I was learning how to build a team, I had spoke with Hyatt and asked him about it. When I wanted to go into online courses, I spoke with Ramit Sethi and talked to him about it and other people. This is one of the benefits of having a podcast, by the way, is that maybe you didn't know this, but a lot of the people who I've had on my show are on my show for a very selfish reason. They're on my show because I want to pick their brain about some of the stuff that I'm thinking about getting into as well. So, for example, this year, perhaps you heard Stu McLaren on the podcast. Stu McLaren, who is the founder of Tribes, helps people with membership websites. Well, what happened to come out this year in SPI? SPI Pro, our premium membership platform. And so it's kind of cool because a podcast can offer you that space to have these conversations and still provide value to the person that you are doing this research with. In fact, I have a lot of people who take my podcasting course specifically just because they're like, I don't care if I get listeners. I mean, they'll probably come, but that's not what's important to me. What's important to me is to have a platform where I can record and have these conversations with other people in the industry who know a lot more than I do. And I thought that's not why I started my podcast. I wanted to start my podcast because I wanted to share with you, and just so happened I knew people who could come on the show to help you. But then I realized from hearing from some of other people the reason why they wanted to start their show, and I was like, that's actually a pretty genius idea. And so let me find people now, depending on what I'm going to be working on, who could also provide value not just for the audience, but for me too. And this is why I think a lot of people who listen to my show come back to me and they go, wow, I don't know how you did it, but you just seem to ask those same questions that I have. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm literally in the same boat as you, thinking about starting a membership website. So that's kind of where that came from. Hey, Valinda, great to see you here. Teachers making the basics fun. Big shout out to teachers again, always and forever for sure. Some of y'all talking about camera equipment and stuff. Thrifty Pickers, while I work, I have been listening to your podcast, learning as much as I can. I have learned I need equipment. You may or may not, right? I think, I have a lot of people ask me, they don't necessarily dive into my YouTube videos yet, but they know that I'm the podcasting person. So they send me DMs or they send me emails and like, Pat, what equipment do I need? What do you think of this microphone? What do you think of this microphone? And it's because they've seen their favorite creator use it or whatever. And I'm just like, number one, go watch my videos because it'll tell you all the answers and it'll do it on a budget for you. But number two, it's like equipment, yes, is important, but too many people start with the equipment before they get to, well, what words are they going to say into that microphone, right? So I often challenge these people who reach out to me and I go, what's your show going to be about? tell me what your first 10 episodes are going to be like. And they go, well, I haven't really gotten that far yet. And I'm like, why are you focusing on buying a microphone now? Then you get the microphone when you're stoked to just get right behind it and start talking, but you don't even know what you're going to talk about yet. So come up with some ideas, 10 to 25 different examples of different pieces of content that you can have on your show. Then you can reward yourself with a microphone, right? Hopefully, I don't know what exactly you're buying or what you guys were talking about, but you know, a lot of people go, oh, I'll get the camera and then I'm going to get inspired to talk. Yeah, how many of you have bought things, pieces of equipment that you've never used? Me. I can raise my hand to that one. Let me know if that's you. What up, peeps? Bill says, you missed it. Pat gave away $1 million. I did give away $1 million. Millions of dollars worth of advice that, I'm not even kidding. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but these kinds of things, especially when it comes to pivoting in your business, are life-changing things, right? So, okay, we've all spent money on things we don't need. It's because we think that that thing is going to give us the end result. But we have to really think about what the end result actually is. It's not the microphone. The end result is the words we say in the microphone. It's not the video camera. It's the video and the message and the positioning of that video and how we're trying to help people with a transformation, right? But I will agree with Chris. Tech toys are really fun to buy. Literally, I bought this the other day, and I already know what I'm going to say, though. So I'm giving myself that excuse. This came after coming up with some ideas for the new YouTube channel. The reason why I needed a new shotgun microphone is because the microphone I'm using here, which is right off a camera, sounds really good. On this other one, I could have used my microphone, but then my videos would all be like this, and I didn't want that. So I got a new thing. I got a new thing. This is really cool. Anyway, I do have another package, by the way. This is not a piece of equipment. If it is what I think it is, this is something that I actually pre-ordered 6 months ago, and it finally came in literally this morning. I'm going to open it for you in about 15 minutes here at the end, and we'll see what it is together. Any guesses? If you can guess what it is, brownie points to you. Tech toys and Pokemon cards, yes. I bought Into the Beta VCR and Laserdisc as the next big thing, says Ryan. Bill says, so spot on. Shiny. What's the new YouTube channel? So Gabriella, just so you all know, I'm going to be starting a new YouTube channel in a completely different space. This isn't entrepreneurial based. And I want to come in fresh, come in new and bring something new to this, something that I'm really interested in, really excited about, and having a lot of fun with, and have gotten to know a lot of people in that community. And I feel like I could provide some value there. And I'm going to use that opportunity to start something new as a way to, because I haven't had this in a while, to be honest. I mean, back in the day with Smart Passive Income, a lot of my content was based on projects that I was working on, right? Hey, here's our report for how this project was working on, or here's the niche site and how it did this past month, right? Something completely separate that was literally started from scratch. So here on YouTube, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm starting a separate channel. You're going to see kind of how it's performing. I'm going to share some things here in this income stream that I'm doing there that are working or maybe are not working, that I'm struggling with, etc. And I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be fun. So I see some guesses in here. We'll see. But I have some B-roll footage that I'm going to be excited about sharing. So I'll probably be coming out with a trailer on this channel, and I do want to tell you, but I'm not going to tell you. Is it your flex capacitor? I have a flex capacitor up there. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, in here? Yeah, so I already have a capacitor. My car is filled with a Rodecaster, Shure mics, Blackmagic A10 Mini, ISO lights, and more. Haven't set them up yet. I will. Okay. A new mic. Maybe. I don't know. I have wanted to start a channel about stocks, but I'm not going to. That's a dangerous game, and I don't want to give that kind of financial advice. There are way too many people who do that, and that's their daily job, and I can't do it as well as them. I am interested in it, though. Fight it, Pat. Fight it. Stocks? No, it's not. It's not stocks. But there is a connection to my ultimate goal related to education. Now, not directly, but in terms of target audience, perhaps. So I'm giving away a lot of clues here, by the way. But anyway, I'm just kind of checking a message in while I was talking really quick. Sorry about that. Sweet. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, one hint. Will this be an indoor YouTube channel or an outdoor YouTube channel? Gabriella, I can't tell you these things. Okay, I can't tell you these things. Anyway, either way, I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. And it's exciting because it's something new, obviously. But I'm starting on the side. I'm starting small. It's not a thing that I want to pivot into. It's the thing that I want to add on. But that also means there's a thing that I'm taking away. And I'm going to talk more about that in a minute because or not in a minute, but later on when I reveal this channel and talk about it a little bit more. Anyway, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Mano says gaming? I don't know. Maybe the Twitch stream was just an experiment. We'll see. We'll see. It's a beard grooming channel. Yes, you got it. So it does involve growing, and it does involve Pokemon, because you might find something in there. Just kidding. Anyway, it should be fun. So we got 15 minutes here. I would love to answer questions for you. I think we've talked a lot about pivot and the kinds of things we need to do. A lot of it involves future thinking, right? Getting into the DeLorean, fast forwarding a year in the future and thinking, okay, if things were to work out, what would life be like in that scenario? Okay, let's come back to reality. Let's come back to now. And then let's take the other decision and move forward with that, considering what it would be like if that actually worked out. You might be able to weigh those decisions together, right? I think that also thinking about what's at stake is going to be my final lesson here. If you were to make decision A, what's at stake there? What would the consequences be of that in reality? Again, the reality part of this equation is really important because too often we love to think about the absolute worst case, ludicrous mode version of something, which is, far outlandish, and it's just our brain doing weird things to protect us, and then that fear comes into play, right? I think when you have that sense of fear, you got to remember, fear is an emotion or a firing of parts of the brain. The same parts of the brain fire up when you're excited, like literally the same parts of the brain. It's what you do with that part of the brain that fires up and how you tell yourself that story. So are you telling yourself that I'm fearful, watch out, I'm not going to do this? Or, hey, I'm fearful, I'm excited, this is going to be something that's going to be really cool and interesting, and we'll see what happens, right? Stop, pivot, shoot, right? Stop, pivot, shoot. Kobe. All right. Kobe. Ludicrous speed. Yeah, I forgot the Tesla actually has a ludicrous speed option. I was thinking more along the lines of Spaceballs. Do y'all remember that movie, Spaceballs? It was sort of a parody movie of Star Wars with Lord Helmet, and it was such a good movie. I don't know why my parents let me watch it, though. We watched it with the kids because I watched it when I was younger than them. And I was like, oops, maybe this wasn't the best thing to share with them. And I was like, wait, I watched this when I was younger. Who let me do this? Right? I think the other important part of this is, again, to go back to what we said earlier, is to stay connected with other people, right? Other people who can support you in these decisions. Very, very difficult to make a pivot or change into a different direction if you're not getting support for it, right? And too often we go to the same people to get the same advice, but they probably supported us going this way. And then now we're asking them to think what we should do if we go this way. I mean, you might get support for that from your family and your friends, and that's cool. But you also need to see, okay, well, which communities am I potentially going to get into? Who else is out there who's going through the same thing? And how might we come together, band together? And this is why SPI Pro is so important to me and to the team, because there are so many people going through different pivots and decision-making processes this year with the changes in their business because of COVID and the pandemic and whatnot. And as a result, they were just missing each other. There were no conferences anymore. There was no opportunities or places where people can talk in a safe space to discuss these certain things and learn from each other. And that's exactly what's happening in SPI Pro, which is really cool. So, Pizza the Hut. Dude, he ate himself. That's just and then the classic scene is at the diner at the end when they're just like eating food and getting ready to collect their payment or whatever. The dining scene, the alien comes out of the guy's stomach and then he's dancing. He's like, "Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime gal." Just such a weird thing. Fit over 50. I switched most of my Amazon links to individual companies, but kept getting mostly just Amazon sales. So just pivoted to mostly Amazon. It was a ton of work, so maybe a good move. You know, most people are still buying on Amazon because Amazon's what we're familiar with. Amazon has Prime shipping and like all these things, right? Going through companies directly can work, but the incentive is not just for you. There needs to be some incentive for the person to buy from outside of Amazon, right? Because there's way more incentive to buy on Amazon. So if you just kind of go, hey, buy this from here, likely people are just going to go to Amazon and buy it anyway, unless there's a reason to. Maybe they're getting more of a discount, or maybe it's much easier. Maybe the shipping is faster. Maybe it comes with some special bonuses if you get it here instead. And oftentimes you can get a higher commission if you're promoting somebody directly, and or if you indeed have your own products, you can make more commission, or excuse me, make more profit because you're not sharing it with Amazon. Lex, check please. Yes. So good. We need to comb the desert. We just need to, like, forget FlynnCon. Let's just like have movie nights. Like where, that'd be really fun. Like 2 days. We do some stuff in the afternoon together, maybe go to the zoo here in San Diego, eat some tacos or whatever. And then like as a group, and then we all go to a movie theater and we just watch Back to the Future, of course, Spaceballs, maybe some tearjerker movie for the more emotional people in the crowd, which I am too. Here's how I can prove that I do get teary during movies. We watched The Movies That Made Us on Netflix. I think it's on Netflix, and it's this sort of documentary style, but it's not serious. It's more of a behind the scenes of how certain movies were made. Right? There's one for Nightmare Before Christmas, or and there's also there was one for Elf, Buddy the Elf movie with Will Ferrell, and it tells this story for like 45 minutes about how the movie was made. And by the end of this like behind the scenes documentary thing, I'm like in tears because I'm just so stoked on the story and how it all got put together and all these things that I'm learning. And again, this is actually what I talk about in my book, Superfans. Like, people love to learn behind the scenes, and now I'm even more of a fan of the movie than I was. I highly recommend you watch that. It's so good. Oh, The Toys That Made Us 2 was good. The My Little Pony episode was actually legit. Are theaters open in the US? Not really. How about a cyber movie event? Ooh, how do we... Okay, wait. GTO has a great... How do we... how do we get a movie up that we could watch together virtually, right? Like, imagine it's like a live stream, but we're still able to chat with each other during the movie, laugh together. Maybe it's a Zoom call. I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm sure it'd be fun. We could make a jingle. Isn't Make It Jingle a movie? Or Jingle All the Way. Jingle All the Way is a movie. Anyway. Not really a good... I did it better yesterday, but... All right, I'm going to pull up my chair. I'm going to open this package and show you what it is. Warning, crying at movies gets worse as you age. Just thinking of the end of Miracle on 34th Street. Netflix party. It's a Chrome plugin. Yo, Jonathan, we should totally do that. That would be really sick. That actually would be really sick. Maybe let's do that on my birthday. No, that's coming up on Sunday, I think. Let's do it for like... I mean, we are going to stream for 365 minutes. Yeah. Oh, we have to. We have to watch Back to the Future together on day 365, because then we can relive the past and talk about all the fun times we had together. Yo, okay. Is that legal? Can we do that? Would that count as a live stream? Would we get demonetized for that? I don't know. But that would be cool. Anyway, we have a package here, and I'm gonna open it. I'm not liking this new packaging from Amazon. Have you seen these? You rip them open, and I like where this is going. Super idea, cool. I'm glad you guys are in favor. But, oh, tear here to open. Maybe that's why, because I didn't see that before. Sorry for your ears. Yes. Okay. So the backstory behind this thing in this package is I bought it 6 months ago. Somebody on Twitter was just like, yo, Pat, this is coming out. And I was like, I need it now. And of course, it has to do with Back to the Future. Yes, I just sniffed it because I brought it like up to my face and it smelled like sawdust. So we have the brand new DeLorean Transformer. So look at that. It can go from DeLorean to Transformer in 4 easy steps. Autobot Gigawatt. It's Gigawatt, but he pronounces it Gigawatt in the movie. This is sick. 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 Dude, you gotta get 2, right? 1 to play with and 1 to actually use. Now, this is something that's limited edition because it's the 35-year anniversary. And that's crazy. 35. Anyway, I'm stoked on this. Wow, I'm just a big kid, I guess. That's cool. Did you all see, also, I got a gift from Sean Cannell. You all know Sean. So I spoke at Sean's live event, and this was his team's gift to me. Look at that. Marty and Doc as bears. And this is a particular brand of bear. It's like, what is it, Steiff? This is the brand. Apparently, it's a very famous brand of bears. They're not like cuddly bears. They're definitely like wires or something in there. But apparently, these are nice collectibles. And more Back to the Future stuff. The box that it came in was really cool, actually. Let me show you. This is the box it came in. That is sick. Look at that. I'm keeping this box for sure. Woo! I don't have much more room for this. Look at that. It's like... That's sick. And then finally, is Hey Archer here, by the way? I don't think Hey Archer's here. Anyway, we've been talking a lot about bringing some swag to the income stream. And a lot of you have been asking for things like mugs and hats and shirts and stuff. And Jess and I have been working behind the scenes, and we're going to be opening up a store probably on my birthday. And it's not going to be like, hey, here's all these things you can get. We want to do like limited runs of things to support you and just to say thanks. And also to give you some swag because you've been asking for it, right? And a way to feel even more connected to Team Flynn here. So I'm stoked on that. But I will also want to give, and the reason why I was asking Hey Archer if he was here was because my idea is to crowdsource a lot of these designs from you. And we have our first design for our first t-shirt that will be pre-sold on my birthday, most likely December 6th. And I want to thank Hey Archer for the design. So I got a version of the shirt already. And this is very comfortable, by the way. Check that out. Team Flynn in the Back to the Future font. Team Flynn. Hashtag bruh with Hey Archer and his name underneath to give him some credit. And the cool thing is we will be pre-selling it and only ordering as much as we need, and then it's gone. It's like you won't be able to get it again, at least for now. And so really stoked on that. And again, you don't have to pay anything. You don't ever have to feel like you're required to do that. But we wanted to give something that would bring the community even closer together. And it's really cool that Hey Archer designed it. And that's where we're going to start. And then, after we pre-sell that, however many that requires, then we'll ship them and sell them once we get it manufactured. And we'll move on to another thing. And we'll see what we can do from there. So that's going to be sick. I'm stoked for it. Thanks, everybody. It's going to be really cool. So anyway, thank you all for today. I hope that we ended on a more lighthearted note because we started in a very serious manner. I kind of just went right into it and went deep into the psyche, but then we had some fun after. So anyway, these are all important things to think about, and you're more than welcome, obviously, to rewatch this in the future if you'd like, in the future. And I hope that you'll be able to join me tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to start at our regular time, 9 a.m. Excuse me, hold on. That's not true. This week we've been experimenting with new times. And yes, we would indeed ship international, I think. More on that later. But the store, I'm hoping to set it up over the weekend to have it be something that just easily get pre-orders for and whatnot. Calendar. So tomorrow we're going to go same time. Same time. 10:30 a.m. Pacific once again. Probably not going to be that next week. Again, I do want to find a time where it's just like literally the same time every week, every time. So anyway, thank you again. We're going to start at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow once again. So for the crowd that's here, it'll be around the same time, and hopefully you can pass that on. And I'll mention it in the community channel as well. I apologize that the times are different seemingly every week. I know that makes it hard. And it's just with the schedule with the kids and now coming back from Thanksgiving, and it's going to be wacky again because they're going to be on break again. Anyway, thank you again for being here anyway, and I appreciate you. And those of you watching the replay, you mean the world to me just as much as the people who are here live. And I want to thank you for your time and attention. And, hopefully you feel that you're not alone in your decisions with where you want to go, and that you know that you're always going to have some support either way. So thank you. I appreciate you, and see you soon. Peace out. Thanks, Team Flynn, for the win.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
All right, y'all, thank you so much. It is now time for office hours with the course students. So if you are a student of one of my courses, you're more than welcome to join me in office hours. I sent you an email earlier today, or yeah, anyway, I'll see you there. Bye. Peace out.